Okay, so if you feel like you need a full-time intelligence analyst just to keep up with AI news, you're not wrong.
Absolutely.
The sources you share with us this week, it was just a torrent. We're talking frontier model performance, industrial policy, geopolitics, all in the span of a few days.
It's more than just dense, it's overwhelming. We're tracking a shift that's moving faster than, well, any tech shift I can remember. It feels less like news and more like a series of controlled explosions.
Right. So our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We're not just going to list off new features. We want to extract the developments that really signal the direction AI is headed.
And that direction is becoming clearer.
It is. To me, the core theme in all this data is the shift from AI as a passive tool. Something you prompt to an autonomous, high-impact agent that can solve really complex problems on its own.
Exactly. This week feels like a genuine inflection point. It's where raw intelligence is colliding with massive industrial infrastructure and some pretty unprecedented government strategies.
And the two biggest signals we really need to focus on are, one, the performance leap from new models like Claude Opus 4.5 and GPT-5, and two, these huge government-backed initiatives.
Right. And if you're listening and want to understand how quickly the entire professional landscape is about to change, grasping these two forces is absolutely key. Let's start with the intelligence side.
Good idea, because the performance gains are staggering. But it's the business model changes that might be even more important.
I agree.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Anthropic launched Claude Opus 4.5. It has absolutely reset the benchmark, world-leading performance and complex reasoning, coding, all the agentic tasks.
Right.
But the thing that blew up my inbox was the combination of that elite intelligence with two specific operational changes.
You're talking about the economics and the controls.
Precisely. They announced a 66% cost reduction compared to the last model, a 66% drop.
Which is just massive.
And then they introduced this new effort parameter. It lets you adjust the model's reasoning intensity. You can basically tell it, hey, this is a simple email, don't overthink it, or this is our 10-year corporate plan, go all out.
And that combination right there,
Yeah.
that's the fundamental accelerator. Elite intelligence plus a 2/3 cost cut removes the biggest remaining barrier to, deep enterprise adoption.
So it makes autonomy affordable.
It makes autonomy practical. Before now, running these powerful agents for complex, long-running tasks was just too expensive for most companies. Anthropic is making the economics work.
But hang on, doesn't that effort parameter kind of work against the cost reduction? I mean, if
Yeah.
you always have to set the effort to maximum for important jobs, don't you lose that 66% saving?
That's the tension, yeah.
Yeah.
You're sort of paying for quality control. But the breakthrough is in the orchestration.
What do you mean?
Claude 4.5 is built to manage teams of smaller, specialized models. So you use the cheap, lower-effort models for maybe 80% of the routine work, and you only bring in the high-effort, expensive Opus for the final synthesis or the critical decisions.
Ah, okay. So it's about smart delegation.
Exactly. That's how you get the huge throughput and still save a ton of money overall.
And this is where the raw intelligence part gets really interesting because OpenAI is pushing the boundaries of what these models can actually do scientifically. They put out research on GPT-5.
And this is a qualitative leap.
How so?
Well, we're used to AI summarizing what's already known. This research showed GPT-5 moving beyond that. It was actively accelerating new discoveries, solving math problems that have been unsolved for decades, identifying complex biological mechanisms in minutes.
So it's not just a research assistant, it's becoming a research partner.
It's helping experts think faster. It's leading to breakthroughs that could have taken years of human work.
And this level of intelligence isn't just locked away in the big labs anymore. We're seeing it get, well, democratized. DeepSeek released an open source model, DeepSeek Math V2.
The mixture of experts model.
Right. And this thing achieved gold medal performance at the International Mathematical Olympiad and scored 118 out of 120 on the Putnam competition.
Which is just an incredibly difficult collegiate math test. So you have world-class mathematical reasoning now available openly.
And just on pure benchmarks, Google's Gemini 3 Pro just scored a 130 on an offline IQ test, which beat the old record from Grok. Intelligence is just, it's radiating everywhere.
It really is.
So you have this dizzying race for raw intelligence, but
Yeah.
it's just scaling up the only answer. The sources point to a really interesting counter-argument.
From NVIDIA, right?
Yeah, NVIDIA research suggests that smarter orchestration might be the future. They trained a system called Tool Orchestra
I saw
that uses teams of smaller, more efficient models, but it still manages to outperform the giant frontier models at a fraction of the cost.
Which reinforces that same idea we saw with Claude's cost strategy, this whole arms race of just pouring billions into more and more compute. It might be hitting diminishing returns.
So the future might belong to the smartest coordinator, not just the biggest brain.
It could be. But on the flip side of all this intelligence, we have to mention the risks.
The MIT research.
Yes. Researchers at MIT found that these LLMs often rely on flawed grammatical patterns. They call them syntactic templates, instead of, actually understanding the meaning of what they're processing.
So they're good at grammar, but not necessarily comprehension. Why is that a security risk?
Well, imagine you deploy a highly autonomous agent to manage a power grid or a trading platform. If it's just relying on these grammatical shortcuts, a command that is syntactically correct but semantically flawed.
Could cause a catastrophe.
Exactly. It could lead the agent to make a huge error simply because it was following a pattern instead of understanding the meaning. That's a serious problem for full autonomy.
Okay, so if the intelligence side is this mix of high reward and high risk, let's talk about the infrastructure being built around it, because we are seeing the full-scale industrialization of AI.
This mobilization is. It's historic.
Yeah.
This isn't just investment. It's a strategic alignment on a national level.
And I'm talking about the Genesis mission. President Trump launched this initiative, and they're explicitly calling it a Manhattan Project-scale effort led by the Department of Energy.
And that comparison tells you everything.
It does. The goal is to build a single, unified national AI platform. It will integrate all federal data sets with supercomputing resources to, and this is their mission, fully automate scientific workflows in critical fields.
So biotech, energy, semiconductors.
Exactly.
The U.S. government is signaling that it views AI as the ultimate strategic asset. This is about securing global technological and economic hegemony. It's not just funding research. It is the government-led industrialization of scientific discovery itself.
And the private sector is matching that ambition. Amazon just announced a $50 billion investment starting in 2026.
$50 billion.
And specifically to build dedicated AI and supercomputing infrastructure for U.S. federal agencies. We're talking about 1.3 gigawatts of secure compute.
That is a fundamental structural shift. It means critical government and national security missions are now plugging directly into massive private sector AI infrastructure.
So the government gets a huge tech upgrade without having to build it all from scratch.
Right. It elevates the partnership between Silicon Valley and Washington to a whole new industrial scale.
Yeah.
And you see other moves that support this.
Like Jeff Bezos' new company.
Exactly. Project Prometheus has reportedly just acquired the agentic computing startup General Agents. Meanwhile, Cohere is bringing its agentic platform, North, right into SAP's cloud. The message is clear. Autonomous agents aren't experiments anymore. They're being bought and built directly into the world's core operating systems.
So let's move from those big structural shifts to the tangible impact. Where are these agents hitting the real world right now, particularly in health?
This is where it becomes really personal and instantly relatable.
The sources show immediate clinical impact. Harvard Medical School developed a model called POP-EE. It can accurately predict the disease risk of genetic variants, which is incredibly hard for humans to do.
And the results.
It helped successfully diagnose about 1/3 of 30,000 previously undiagnosed rare disease patients. In the process, it found 123 new disease-linked genes.
So that's AI moving directly into the clinic, accelerating diagnosis, and giving answers to families who have been waiting for years. It validates AI as a life-saving clinical partner.
And speaking of innovation, MIT unveiled BoltzGen. It's a generative AI that designs novel protein binders from scratch.
And this is aimed at what they call undruggable diseases.
Exactly. Targets that human scientists have basically stalled out on because of the sheer complexity. BoltzGen is creating new paths to potential therapies for some of our most resistant diseases.
So it's not just diagnosis, it's discovery.
Now let's bring it to the consumer side. If enterprises and governments are getting these powerful agents, consumer products are also getting way smarter and, more importantly, more personalized.
Right. This is the end of having to repeat yourself every time you open a chatbot.
Finally, Perplexity introduced persistent memory for its AI assistant. It can recall your preferences, your interests, past conversations, so you don't have to tell it every morning, "Remember, I'm a vegetarian chef in Seattle who loves vintage synths."
The context sticks,
Yeah.
and of course that stickiness is immediately tied to commerce.
Of course. We saw it across the board. ChatGPT launched a specialized shopping research assistant, fine-tuned on a GPT-5 Mini, and Perplexity launched new AI shopping features too.
The agent is becoming your personal shopper,
And the autonomy is also getting smaller, running on local devices. Microsoft launched Farah 7B, a compact model that runs right on your laptop.
which is important for speed and accessibility.
Right. And it can autonomously navigate websites to complete tasks. It can browse, fill out forms, interact with the web, all on your own machine.
Plus, Amazon's Alexa Plus is now rolling out its upgraded AI internationally. So these consumer agents are mature enough for a mass global audience.
Okay, so we've got new intelligence, massive infrastructure, and real-world applications. Let's try to connect this to the bigger picture: strategy, the economy, and the regulations trying to catch up.
And the strategic tension inside OpenAI right now is just fascinating.
It is. On one side, you have the co-founder, Ilya Sutskever. He's predicting the end of the AI scaling era.
Which is a huge statement.
Huge. He's arguing that just throwing more compute at the problem is hitting a wall, and the future needs real research breakthroughs. He's thinking we'll see superhuman-like AI in 5 to 20 years, but from intellectual leaps, not just bigger servers.
So he's saying the exponential growth we've seen from raw scaling is about to plateau, which will force the industry to get smarter about how models learn and reason, not just how big they are.
But then on the other hand, you have the CEO, Sam Altman. He sent an internal memo talking about rough vibes and economic headwinds. He's specifically worried about Google's progress with things like Gemini 3.
So even at the very top, you have this mix of prophetic confidence in the long-term future and this acute, almost anxious competitive pressure in the present.
And this is all happening against a massive economic forecast. Anthropic's research estimates that widespread AI adoption could boost U.S. labor productivity growth by 1.8% a year.
Which would nearly double the current rate. That's enormous.
But it's not a painless shift. The counterpoint is HP. They just announced a huge restructuring, cutting between 4,000 and 6,000 jobs as part of their AI transition.
So the move to AI-driven efficiency is already causing significant job displacement, even while it's promising all this macroeconomic growth.
And as these agents get deployed, the legal and regulatory friction is really heating up.
It was bound to happen.
OpenAI lost a key ruling in a copyright lawsuit. They have to disclose internal communications about deleting 2 datasets.
And on top of that, Anthropic's CEO is scheduled to testify before Congress.
Right, about the discovery of an AI-powered cyber attack that used Claude's code. The second these agents start acting on their own, their legal liability and their security failures become front-page news.
That's just the inevitable consequence of moving from a search tool to a system that takes independent action. The stakes are so much higher.
Absolutely. So, what does it all mean when we put it together? We saw new performance highs from Claude 4.5 and GPT-5. We saw massive industrial-scale investment from the Genesis mission and Amazon. And we saw life-saving applications in human health.
And the common thread through all of it is that AI has completed its transition. It's not just a smart search box anymore. It's an autonomous, context-aware collaborator and agent driving discovery at industrial scale. And now it's starting to remember who you are.
Now, here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on. If one of the most brilliant minds in the field, Ilya Sutskever, is saying the era of massive AI scaling is over, that the future is about research breakthroughs and smarter orchestration, then how will the unprecedented multi-billion-dollar infrastructure that was announced this week, like the Amazon $50 billion deal, be utilized? That massive investment assumes a continued need for just raw, brute force compute.
That's a great question.
That tension between the strategic research path and the massive industrial investment path, that conflict is going to define the direction of AI for the next 5 years.
It shows that not everyone agrees on the path forward, but everyone agrees on the stakes. We really encourage you to dig into the sources yourself and keep exploring.